There is a saying that goes, if you haven't grown up by age 50, you don't have to. Well, as I turned 50 a little over a year ago, I decided that even though I hadn't grown up yet, I would really like to. And this is about why and how I decided to grow up at 50, and some of the tools and things that helped me do that. When I thought about this, at first I was very frustrated and desperate, realizing that I hadn't chosen to grow up. I thought it was probably a little late thinking about this at 50. And then I went online and found this really cool article about these amazing people that you may have heard of. For instance, Grandma Moses. She was 74 when she had her first public exhibit. Julia Childs published Mastering the Art of French Cooking at 50 and went on to have several cooking shows. Colonel Sanders invented his fried chicken at 65 and went on to be quite successful with his first place in Utah. Daniel Defoe wrote Robinson Crusoe in his 60s. Edith Wharton wrote Age of Innocence at 59. Ferdinand von Zeppelin invented a hydrogen-filled Zeppelin that was steerable and that could take passengers when he was in his 60s. Samuel Clemens, a.k.a. Mark Twain, wrote or published The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn when he was 50. Oscar Swan, a little less known, but he actually received his Olympic gold medal when he was 64. Diana Nyad, just a few years ago, as she turned 64, swam between Florida and Cuba without a shark cage, and she was the first person ever to do that. Sir Francis Chichester, he sailed around the world by himself after he retired in his 60s from map publishing. So after reading about these amazing, fascinating people and their accomplishments, I figured there might be still hope for me, and I could maybe just simply grow up. As I was turning 50, I evaluated myself more honestly than I have done before. It was time to take off the rose-colored glasses and looking at changing my life. As I was doing this and decided to grow up, I came up with 6 ground rules for myself. The first one, acceptance and compassion for myself and for others, realizing where I was, maybe not the perfect weight, not always giving the perfect speech at Toastmasters, not being as far in my career as I wanted to, and also having compassion for others. Number 2, embrace change and death. Yes, life doesn't go on forever, and the only constant in life is change, whether it's our kids moving out or moving in, or lots of other things in life changing. Number 3, my life purpose. This is something that I've sometimes had issues with. Just figuring out my goals and why, knowing and realizing they're not the same as at 20. And I'm somewhat allergic to setting goals, let alone having a schedule for myself and following it. Number 4, resolve, reconcile, and reframe. Life is too short to hold on to grudges, whether they were things that happened 2 years ago, 20 years ago, or yesterday. It also has to do with reframing things or relearning, being open to new ideas, or even relearning things that at some point worked for me, realizing they may not work anymore. Number 5, look forward, not back. This is something that comes pretty easy for me. As we're growing wiser, or at least older, looking forward is more important instead of looking backward. Just even for having better stories. Creating new adventures, having more fun in life, so that we can tell better stories and be more excited about what things are going on. I've seen too many of my parents' friends that would look backwards a lot more than forwards, to the point where it became a habit and all they did was living in their past instead of looking forward to different things. Number 6, and probably the very most important one for me in growing up, is no excuses. There are no valid excuses. No matter whether the weather is perfect, the moon's in the right phase, I feel tired or sick, I still do it, whatever it is. Since I didn't grow up at maybe my first or my second go-around, I found some extra tools and help in some books. This one we heard about not too long ago from Tess, and it helps keep my mind on track and on a schedule. Another book that I actually heard first from Tess about as well is 40 Days to Personal Revolution. The book and the workshop has made all the difference in how I feel in my body and my soul. Another book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich is written more to 20-year-olds, but was just perfect for me and put me on the right track money-wise and gave me some rudimentary skills for financial independence. 2 books that I've recently read is the Bulletproof Diet and No Fail Fat Burning for Women. Have completely overturned how and what I eat, and for the first time in over 6 years I have felt good while losing weight. If you, like me, still have some growing up to do, I highly recommend it. Grow up!